Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're tackling something that affects us all every single day, the costs of our habits.
Ooh, that's interesting.
But we're not just talking about, the impact on your personal spending.
Right.
This is about the broader,
Yeah.
sometimes hidden costs for society and the economy, those ripple effects from those choices that we all make.
It's funny, isn't it, how we get so focused on the personal cost? Like, ugh, shouldn't have that extra donut.
Right.
But there's this whole other level of consequences that we don't always think about.
Totally. And we've got some data to dig into today. There's this report called Personal Habits Cost to Society that breaks down some pretty mind-blowing numbers.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And we'll also be looking at Thought Shift, which is this nonprofit that's trying to use marketing to nudge people toward positive changes.
I love their approach. It's really innovative. And honestly, looking at some of these figures, we need some innovative solutions.
For sure.
The scale of the cost we're talking about here is just massive. I mean, we're talking hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars globally.
Okay, so let's jump right in with the big one, smoking.
Okay.
The report cites over $600 billion annually in costs, just in the U.S.
Wow.
That's like the entire GDP of a lot of countries.
It's incredible, isn't it? And when you break it down, I think the CDC data really brings it home.
Yeah.
Like over $240 billion is direct healthcare costs. Doctor's visits, hospital stays, medications, all that adds up.
And then almost another $185 billion in lost productivity because people are sick, they can't work, or they're not working as effectively. And that hurts businesses.
It's a domino effect, really.
Yeah.
But even more than that, there's the $180 billion tied to premature death.
Oh, that's just...
Lives cut short, families impacted. It's a huge economic burden, but it's also just a tragedy on a human level.
Absolutely. And it makes you realize that, smoking doesn't just affect the smoker, right?
Right.
There's this huge ripple effect, these financial and social consequences that we all share.
Exactly. And that brings us to another habit with these hidden costs that are just massive.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Okay, yeah.
Now, the data we have is a bit older, back in 2010, but it gives us a good starting point.
Right.
Back then, excessive drinking was costing the U.S. $249 billion.
And I can only imagine how much higher that number is now.
Oh, absolutely.
And think about all the things that factor into that, too. Obviously, healthcare for alcohol-related illnesses, but also law enforcement. You've got court costs, accidents, drunk driving incidents.
Not to mention the things you can't easily put a price tag on.
Yeah.
Families struggling with alcohol abuse, the loss of potential because of addiction. It's a complex issue with a lot of layers.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a little and talk about something a lot of us struggle with. Unhealthy diets and not getting enough exercise.
Right.
This one might not feel as dramatic or immediate as, a drunk driving accident.
Yeah.
But the costs are actually huge, and they're growing every year.
Yeah. And a lot of that is tied to chronic conditions, right?
Mm.
Obesity-related illnesses like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, certain cancers. These are long-term conditions that are really expensive to manage.
And it's putting such a strain on our healthcare system, right? It's almost like a slow motion crisis happening right in front of us.
Yeah.
We don't see the immediate crash like a car accident, but those healthcare costs just keep adding up, and eventually we're all paying for it in some way.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like a perfect illustration of how these everyday choices, these seemingly small things that so many of us do, well, they add up to these huge systemic issues that we all have to deal with.
So let's maybe explore a different approach here. And that's where Thought Shift comes in.
Okay.
They're trying to, encourage more mindful choices. It's almost like they're fighting fire with fire.
Yeah.
They're using marketing and slogans and things like that to promote these positive changes.
I think it's brilliant, really. Their website is full of these simple, memorable phrases, like thinking, just shift it. It's catchy. And they're trying to tap into that same psychology that advertisers use to get us to buy things, but they're using it to promote healthier habits instead.
It's sort of like those public service announcements that we used to see on TV all the time.
Right, exactly.
But updated for the social media age, right?
Yeah. And what I find so fascinating is that it's not just about clever marketing. It's actually based on solid research in behavioral economics.
Okay.
The idea is that our choices are often influenced by these subtle cues in our environment. And if you can change those cues, you can actually nudge people toward making better choices.
It's like how they arrange items in a grocery store.
Yes, exactly.
You put the healthy stuff right at eye level, but the sugary snacks are right there by the checkout where you're more likely to impulsively grab them.
Exactly. And Thought Shift is trying to create those kinds of positive nudges in all areas of our lives.
Okay, so we're back. And I gotta say, this whole deep dive into hidden costs has been pretty eye-opening for me. Like, it's so easy to go through your day, just focused on your own to-do list and not really think about how your choices, even small ones, connect to these like bigger economic trends, impacting society as a whole.
It really is fascinating when you start to think about it. It's like we're all swimming in this giant pool together, but we forget that, even our tiny little splashes can create waves that affect everyone.
Yeah, like big waves. And we've seen some big ones so far, right? The healthcare costs of smoking, the burden on the system from unhealthy eating, not to mention all the consequences of excessive drinking.
Absolutely. But, the point isn't to shame anyone or like advocate for everyone to suddenly become these like perfect health nets.
Right, right.
It's more about raising awareness,
Right.
helping people make informed choices.
Totally. I mean, I like a glass of wine with dinner, and I'm definitely not giving up my rent and gaming. But it's about finding that balance, being aware of those potential consequences, both for yourself and for, like, the wider community.
And I think that's where Thought Shift really nails it with this whole idea of, like, shifting your thinking. They're not saying stop doing X, Y, and Z. It's more about, like, just being mindful.
Yeah.
Asking yourself those what if questions.
Yeah.
Like, what if I made a slightly different choice here? Could that have a positive ripple effect?
And it's really interesting how they're using marketing, which is usually, designed to get us to buy more stuff.
Right.
But they're using it to promote this idea of mindful living. It's kind of a cool strategy when you think about it.
It's brilliant. It's like tapping into the way our brains already work. Like, think about all those catchy slogans and jingles that get stuck in your head.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, Thought Shift wants to use those same techniques, but to promote positive change instead.
So instead of got milk, it's like got mindfulness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's actually a ton of research showing that these little nudges can be really effective. Like, we're bombarded with so much information and choices all the time,
Oh, yeah.
And these little reminders can help keep us on track with our goals.
It's almost like having a friend who just like gently taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, remember that goal you set for yourself?
Exactly. And it doesn't need to be this huge life-altering thing either. Thought Shift really emphasizes those small, gradual shifts, the kind that can snowball into big results over time.
So instead of trying to like completely change your diet overnight, maybe you start by, I don't know, swapping out soda for water a few times a week.
Yeah, or instead of like endlessly scrolling on social media, maybe you take 5 minutes to read something or, learn something new.
It's all about those little wins, right? Those tiny things that build momentum and make you feel good about the progress you're making.
Exactly. And I think it's really important to celebrate those wins, no matter how small they are. Too often we focus on what we haven't done yet, instead of acknowledging all the positive steps we've already taken.
Yeah, it's like that whole, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step thing, right? Every little change, every choice you make, it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And another thing that's really cool about Thought Shift is that it's not just about individual change, They're really focused on the collective impact of our choices.
Okay, yeah.
Their whole slogan, thinking, just shift it. It's about shifting our mindset from, like, me to we.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, recognizing that we're all connected and the choices that we make, they have a ripple effect beyond just ourselves.
Right.
Like, imagine if everyone, put in a little effort to reduce their impact on the environment or to support local businesses,
Yeah.
The combined effect of all those small choices could be huge.
Yeah, totally. It's about like building a whole culture of mindful living where everyone's aware of the impact of their choices and, actively trying to create a world that's more sustainable and equitable.
And Thought Shift has some amazing resources for anyone who wants to learn more about this whole approach. Their website is awesome. It's got tons of information and like practical tools for making those positive changes in your life.
Oh, that's cool. I saw they even have a section on applying these ideas in the workplace, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? I mean, most of us spend so much of our time at work. And the habits we have there, the choices we make, they really impact our well-being and the overall culture of the organization.
So it's not just about what you eat or how much you exercise. It's about all those choices, big and small, like
Right.
what you buy, how you treat other people, how you approach your work.
Exactly. And Thought Shift provides a framework for making those choices in a more conscious way. with a deeper understanding of how they impact the world around us.
It's a really empowering message when you think about it. It's like taking ownership of your choices and realizing that you actually have the power to create change in your own life and in the world.
Absolutely. And that's something we could all benefit from reflecting on, right? Like, if we could all just shift our thinking a little, just imagine the kind of world we could create.
Okay, so we've talked about the hidden costs of our habits, and we've explored this idea of thought shift and the power of mindful choices. But like, how do we actually put all this into practice? How do we move from like just knowing about the problem to actually changing our behavior?
Yeah, that's the real challenge, isn't it? Like, we can talk about these things, read the reports, whatever,
Yeah,
but how do we actually make those changes stick?
it's true. And there's no magic bullet,
Right.
right? But Thought Shift does offer some really solid strategies that I think can help us bridge that gap, between awareness and action.
Okay, cool.
Like one thing they really emphasize is the importance of figuring out your triggers.
Yeah, like, what are the situations or the emotions or even the people that make you more likely to, like, fall back into those unhealthy habits?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's about becoming aware of those patterns, right?
Mm.
Maybe you always crave sugary snacks when you're feeling super stressed,
Uh-huh.
or like you're way more likely to overspend if you go shopping with a certain friend,
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
right? So once you kind of figure out what those triggers are, then you can start to come up with some coping mechanisms.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So instead of reaching for the chips when you're stressed, maybe you go for a walk or, listen to some music or something.
Right, like replace the bad habit with a good habit.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect, right? It's
Yeah.
about progress.
Yeah.
Like, even small changes can make a big difference over time.
So what else does Thought Shift recommend?
Well, another big thing is creating a supportive environment for yourself.
Oh,
Like, surround yourself with people who will encourage you, who will help you stay accountable to your goals.
right, like your own personal cheer squad.
Exactly. And this can be as simple as, like, just telling your friends and family about what you're trying to achieve,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and asking for their support. Or maybe joining a group of people who are working toward similar goals,
Yeah.
Like, there's real power in community.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's way easier to stay motivated when you feel like you're not in it alone.
Exactly. And, don't be afraid to ask for professional help if you need it too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, therapists and counselors and support groups, they could be super helpful.
Yeah, sometimes we all need a little extra help. There's no shame in that.
Exactly. And another thing Thought Shift talks about is setting realistic goals,
Okay.
Like, don't try to change everything at once.
Right.
Start small, make gradual changes that you can build on over time.
It's like training for a marathon, right? You don't just jump in and run 26 miles on day one.
Exactly. You gradually increase your distance, you build up your strength and endurance over time.
Right. Yeah.
And it's important to celebrate those little victories along the way, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Acknowledge and reward yourself for every positive step, no matter how small it might seem.
Those little wins, they keep you going, right?
Totally. And they remind you that you're actually capable of making those changes, of sticking with it.
Ah, yeah, I love that.
And, it's important to remember that change is a journey. It's not just a destination. There are going to be bumps in the road.
Right.
There are going to be setbacks, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
What matters is that you keep moving forward.
Don't beat yourself up if you like slip up every now and then.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
get back on track and keep going. Every day is a fresh start,
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
And ultimately, I think Thought Shift is all about empowerment. It's about realizing that you actually have the power to choose. You choose your thoughts, you choose your actions, and ultimately you choose the direction of your life.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
It's a reminder that we're not just victims of our circumstances or our habits,
Yeah.
We have the ability to create the future we want.
So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've dug into the hidden costs of our habits, explored the Thought Shift approach, talked about how to make lasting changes. What's the big takeaway here?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. Every single day, we make choices. And those choices, even the tiny ones, they have the power to shape not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us.
So choose wisely.
Exactly. Choose to be mindful, choose to be intentional, and choose to be the change you want to see in the world.
Love that. Well, that wraps up another deep dive. I hope everyone found it as informative and thought-provoking as I did.
Yeah, me too. And remember, the journey to positive change starts with a single step.
Take that step today. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and until next time, keep diving deep.